The Old West is remembered as a land shaped by iron, powder, and grit. We talk endlessly about the guns that won the West, the Colts, the Winchesters, the Sharps rifles, the peacemakers that seemed carved out of legend. But there's another side to that frontier story, a side most people never hear, a side filled with bad ideas, broken designs, and weapons so flawed they almost got their owners killed. These are the guns that didn't win the West. These are the guns that lost it. And each one has a tale sharper than a Bowie knife and twice as messy. Picture a frontier horseman in 1871. He's carrying a revolver that looks modern but fires something no one else uses. He pulls the trigger. Nothing. The primer fizzles. The cylinder locks. And his enemy keeps coming. That gun is Colt's Thur conversion. The first metallic cartridge revolver Colt ever tried to sell. A gun that promised innovation but delivered frustration. It used a strange tapered cartridge that no store carried. A round that jammed, misfired, and made men swear loud enough to scare the mules. Cowboys could barely load it, and worse, they couldn't find ammo on the frontier, even if they begged for it. Imagine being in Arizona territory, with bandits ahead of you and the nearest Thur cartridge sitting on a shelf in New York. By the time Colt figured out their mistake, it was too late. The West had moved on without them. Then came a rifle that looked like the future, but behaved like a nightmare. The Evans repeating rifle. 34 rounds stacked inside a swirling helical magazine that turned heads from Kansas to Montana. It looked like the perfect frontier weapon. No reloading, no fumbling for cartridges under fire. Just keep cranking the lever and let the rifle sing. But the rifle didn't sing. It choked. It jammed. It broke. The helical magazine was a delicate machine trapped in a brutal world. Dirt killed it. Dust killed it. Cold killed it. Cowboys hated it because they couldn't fix it. Soldiers hated it because they couldn't trust it. The mechanism was so complicated that a single bent part turned the whole rifle into nothing more than an expensive club, a tool that cost lives instead of saving them. The West didn't have patience for guns that failed in the mud, dust, and wind. And so the Evans, with all its beautiful ambition, collapsed into obscurity. Not every failure was big or loud. Some were tiny, small enough to disappear in a coat pocket. But failure is failure, and nothing proved that more than the Colt House revolver, known by many as the clover leaf. This strange little pistol fired the .41 rimfire, a round so weak it barely scared a drunk outlaw. Its cylinder had 4 chambers shaped like a shamrock. It looked unusual. It looked clever, but clever doesn't stop a man riding hard on your trail. The pistol was underpowered. It was awkward. It lacked the punch needed to stop a fight. In a world where danger came fast and riders didn't always announce themselves, carrying a cloverleaf was like walking into a wolf den with a toy. The West wanted strength. The cloverleaf delivered novelty. And novelty didn't survive. Even legends can stumble. Even great designs can fail when pushed too far. The Winchester 1873 is called the gun that won the West. But one version of it nearly lost the frontier completely. The .22 rimfire model. It wasn't deadly. It wasn't powerful. It wasn't useful for hunting anything bigger than a rabbit. Rangers didn't want it. Homesteaders didn't need it. Outlaws laughed at it. And in a land where firepower often made the difference between living and being buried on Boot Hill, the .22 Winchester was a true misstep. A reminder that even the kings of the frontier could fumble. But nothing caused more anger, more argument, and more controversy than the Springfield 1873 Trapdoor Carbine, the official rifle of the U.S. Cavalry. A rifle meant to arm soldiers across a continent. A weapon that should have protected entire companies of fighting men. Instead, early versions betrayed them. The copper cartridges swelled in the hot barrel. The extractor snapped. The cases stuck. Men fought with knives and carbines and desperation when their rifles jammed. On some battlefields, soldiers smashed stuck cartridges out with pocket knives while bullets whistled past their heads. The West was unforgiving, and a gun that locked up under fire was worse than useless. It was deadly. Soldiers didn't forget. Historians didn't forget. And although improved versions served for years, the early trapdoors carried a shadow that never truly lifted. Colt tried again to challenge Winchester, but their next attempt crashed just as hard. The Colt Lightning rifle promised a faster rate of fire using a pump-action design. It looked sleek. It looked modern. It looked like the future. But the frontier doesn't reward style. The Lightning jammed if you worked it fast. It jammed if dust got inside. It jammed if you looked at it wrong. Cowboys riding the high plains didn't have time for delicate machines. Ranch hands tossed them aside. Outlaws avoided them. The Lightning became a lesson instead of a legend, a reminder that a rifle that fails under pressure is a rifle no one carries twice. Across the ocean, British gunmakers offered something exotic: the Beaumont Adams revolver, a well-built double-action cap-and-ball pistol that had once been respected in Europe. But by the time it reached the American frontier, it was already outdated. Metallic cartridges ruled the West. Reloading with loose powder and caps looked like a bad joke. The West was moving fast, too fast for a revolver meant for an older world. And so, the Beaumont Adams, admired in London, was ignored in Laredo. Then came one of the strangest attempts of all: the Allen and Wheelock lip-fire revolver. A gun built around a proprietary cartridge that no one else produced. A cartridge with a priming system so odd that gunsmiths shook their heads. The revolver might have been interesting in a quiet workshop, but on the frontier, ammo standardization was everything. You carried what you could find, what your neighbor had, what the trading post stocked, and the lip-fire cartridge was none of that. Owning one meant relying on ammunition that didn't exist outside a catalog. No rancher wanted that. No lawman trusted it. No outlaw carried it. The lip-fire system disappeared almost overnight. Not every failed gun was poorly designed. Some were brilliant. Too brilliant, in fact. The Merwin-Holbert revolver is one of the greatest handguns most people have never heard of. Its craftsmanship was stunning. Its engineering advanced. Its fit and finish better than almost anything in its era. The revolver twisted open to eject spent cases cleanly and smoothly. It was elegant, efficient, powerful, but perfection costs money. And the company behind it simply couldn't survive. Financial troubles crushed the manufacturer before the revolver ever reached widespread adoption. Saddest of all, the gun didn't fail because it was bad. It failed because the frontier economy was harsh. And brilliant craftsmanship couldn't outrun bankruptcy. That brings us to the final contender. A symbol of innovation turned into a symbol of failure. The gun that promised to rewrite frontier firepower but collapsed under its own ambition. The Evans repeating rifle might be the most dramatic example, but another contender stands close behind. Colt's early conversion revolvers, the Thur models, which became the frontier's cautionary tale. They weren't deadly in the way guns are meant to be. They weren't reliable in the way survival demands. They represented a moment when technology raced faster than practicality. And the West punished that mistake without mercy. Each of these guns carries a story about a dream that didn't survive, the dust, heat, and brutality of frontier life. Each one tried to carve its place beside the legends. Each one fell short. The frontier was a testing ground, a proving ground, a battlefield of ideas made of iron and powder. The guns that lost the West teach us as much as the guns that won it. Because the West didn't tolerate weakness. The West didn't forgive failure. The West chose its champions the hard way. Imagine standing in a saloon doorway in 1883. You watch a ranch hand slam his unreliable rifle against a hitching post. You watch a drifter curse a revolver that misfires. You watch a soldier cleaning a trapdoor carbine that cost him friends. Every failure, every jam, every broken system tells you the same thing. The frontier was no place for second chances. A gun that failed once might not get the opportunity to fail twice. That's why certain weapons became legends, and why others became warnings. The guns that lost the West aren't just curiosities, they're reminders. They show how harsh the frontier truly was, how unforgiving, how brutally honest. If your gun worked, you lived. If it didn't, you didn't. Simple as that. And in the dust and blood of the American frontier, only the strongest designs survived. The rest were swallowed by the desert wind, forgotten by their own failures, remembered today only by those who dig deep into the real story of the West. Because the truth is simple. The West wasn't won by guns alone. It was shaped by the weapons that worked, and defined by the weapons that didn't. These are the guns that lost the West, and their failures echo just as loudly as the shots that built a legend.